And we're live. It is Meta Lab time for the week. I apologize for that. We don't have Tom, so I attempted music, and I apologize. And expect that subscriber count to drop, even though we were super close to 3,000. I am joined this week by the beautiful and wonderful and young Mr. Mike White.
Wow, there's so full of lies in that statement. But I'll take all of those.
You're right, Mike. You're not young.
I'm a year older than Pong.
And we're joined by the beautiful and wonderful and awesome Jay, and also young Jay.
Almost everything you just said was wrong.
Yeah, you are young though.
Yeah, I know. Mike hates me for it, but yeah.
We don't forgive you for your youth, Jay, because as it is often said, youth is wasted on the young. Before we get started on the show, I just want to do a couple channel updates. This Thursday, Every Man for Everyone will be back. And I'm guessing you guys know by now I'm going to be talking about Earth X on the first episode into the new year. So I'm looking forward to talking commons in Earth X for our little common format that we're talking about. If you have had a chance to run any events during the holidays, please email them to marriedwithclicks@gmail.com so we can talk about them and the continuing growth of this little meta that could. As well, the Married Lab will be back on Friday, and then the rest of the weekend we can calm down and hold off until Patron Hangouts next month. But I want to thank Mike and Jay and Tom for helping me out with that. Tom can't join us this week. Hopefully he should be in action next week. But that said, Mike, we didn't talk about it yesterday because we talked about non-HeroClix stuff. What have you been up to HeroClix-wise this week?
Not much. I did manage to go get some practice time in with Devin and Emily Wednesday. It was fun. I've been fiddling around with a little bit of Witch Queen action there, like the figure. So yeah, we had some good games and tried out some interesting things. And I think we're all looking forward to Earth X to get some of those figures in hand to sort of play around with those and see how they work. In the meta, especially that Daredevil. I think everybody's excited to try that out. Ooh, Ultra Chase action. So yeah, that was about it, really. You know, it's we got a little bit of a blizzard going on here in Toronto, and also our local venue has had a bunch of Magic events, and it doesn't have the play space that it used to, so not much else going on.
Yep. Yeah, this past week being the Ravnica Legion's pre-release, so it's a little rough for HeroClix to happen on a weekend. Jay, how about you?
As far as actually playing HeroClix, it was none. But as far as making HeroClix content, I had that other show that you dragged me kicking and screaming onto, and another podcast, which was fun.
Well, you stopped kicking and screaming when we clubbed you in the back of the head, so I think it was all good.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't talk very much. I just was so disoriented. But yeah, not much as far as the actual playing, nor building, because I've been pretty confirmed on what I'm going to be playing at the February 2nd event, since that's pre-Earth X. So, and I don't think I've known that I was going to be able to play a constructed open for that long, because Jax wasn't confirmed yet, but I get at least one constructed one, so that'll be fun to build for, although I'm pretty sure what that build looks like. So, that was about it.
Yeah, I'm mostly in on the Jax on Queen one. It's down in Elmsvale, for those of you in the area. That's on March 16th. It's the only one I can make it to, because unfortunately the first two happen to be on the first weekend of March, which is when we're celebrating our twins' birthday, and we're going to Great Wolf Lodge for that. So unfortunately we're going to be in Niagara Falls and unable to participate in WKOs that weekend because it's more important to celebrate my son's birth. But that said, I did something HeroClix related. So these kind of look new. WizKids sent us our product for Earth X. We had a chance to unbox them this week, and we of course shared those videos online. So we've done our unboxing video and our piece by piece. A lot of people have been watching them, and we really appreciate that. We also kind of looked at the channel and realized that we're 80 people away, 80 subscribers away from 3,000. So we might have to figure out something to do for 3,000 subscribers. Amber's giving me this, figure something out. You're the creative one, so she says. But yeah, it's mostly been looking at this Earth X stuff. I built like one team. I'm not proud of it. I shared it. I probably shouldn't have. But you know, I'm back. I'm trying to get the juices flowing, and I'm having some major builder's block right now, to say the least. Like I look at the team and I'm immediately ashamed of it, and it's mostly because I'm trying to build differently right now. Whereas I probably should still be at that point where I'm sticking to something that I'm familiar with. So chances are on the 16th I might come with a tweaked version of a team I've already played, which is not a bad thing necessarily, but it's not as a point of pride, it's not a high point for me, as we all know. I do pride myself on being weird. So anyway, that said, WizKids has blessed us with 6 more previews this week, and so we're going to go over those, and then we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about our plans, just kind of high level, what we've been looking at, what we've been working on, ideas we come up with for WKO, and then I'll throw in a quick little, what are we anticipating, what do we really want, what do we want high wants to pull in our pre-releases this coming week. You guys have some time to think about that, obviously, because I know I sprung that one on you, but I mean, it should be relatively easy in the most part. But anyway, that said, let's take a look first at Miss Clea. Clea's got the Earth X and mystical keywords, ignores hindering for line of fire. She's got the Orb of Agamotto trait. When Clea attacks, opposing characters can't use shape change. I love her already. For Love and Knowledge is her second trait. When a friendly character named Loki is within 4 squares in line of fire, both characters can use Precision Strike and deal 2 penetrating damage instead of 1 when using the Mystic's team ability. She's got a special defense power, which she has on her last 3 clicks. Surprising Betrayal. Defend. If a friendly character is hit while replacing its defense value with Clea's, damage dealt by the attack becomes unavoidable, and after resolutions, heal Clea equal to half the damage dealt. And then, so we're looking at a 100-point dial with the Mystic's team ability. Starts with some early energy shield. She's got H range, 2 targets. 2 clicks of Outwit, 2 clicks of Prob, which becomes 2 clicks of Shape Change. She's got a little bit of running shot in the second and third, but then it moves to Force Blast with Energy Explosion. She's your typical glass cannon, mystical-looking character with the Mystic's team ability, as I said. Mike, what are your thoughts on Clea?
She's not bad. I mean, definitely, if you pull her in sealed, you should be looking at her. Anything that ignores hindering for line of fire is helpful on a ranged attacker, especially with a nice, juicy 8-range double target Psychic Blast. She'll be good for outwitting stealth characters, obviously, because she doesn't care about them hiding, and she sees right through that. In competitive, I don't know. It's weird. I look at her, and in some ways her values seem a little like an attacking figure, but then her sort of dial makeup feels a little support character. It's like I'm not quite sure what her role is. At 100 points, I don't know. I don't feel like that investment is quite there. It's always helpful to get rid of opposing character shape change, so that's nothing to balk at. Mystical, a great generic keyword, and again, her values are pretty solid. So she doesn't seem apparent meta to me or constructed to me, but maybe you could find a way to work her in with the right support pieces. I wish she had running shot, obviously, top dial and not second one in. I mean, the 12 move is pretty nice, but you know, without a move and attack, it's a little bit eh. And I wouldn't want to invest in Exospecs or Goblin Glider on her more because she ends up with the running shot on the second click. So, fun, interesting character. I wouldn't be offended if I pulled her and sealed. Maybe she might have some competitive potential, but I don't quite think so. I don't think her dial makeup's quite there.
All right, Jay, your thoughts?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the dial, strictly speaking. It's just not undercosted enough to be competitive. Like, it's appropriately costed, but that's the problem when we're talking the competitive game, where you want as much min-maxing as possible. So, yeah, like, I don't want to invest even more points on top of a lot of points to make her work. It's just, yeah, it doesn't really do enough for those points where, yeah, sealed, probably perfectly fine. I can't think of a lot of stealth in the set, but it's just always good to have, especially because if you're playing in an open, your opponent might want to pick Wakanda, which is still legal, and then they don't get the benefit or whatever. So it's fine for sealed as far as your rare slot goes. Otherwise, I don't see it making much competitive play. Doubly so since there's no good Mystics Lokis to pair with her. Really? Like, you could play the clone Loki, whatever, but then that doesn't have Mystic. It just doesn't work overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of an iffy. Like, you're paying for that second. I feel like that second trait should have been a pay for play, if you ask me. Like, it should not be part of her value.
Yeah, good point.
Like, that should be a pay 5 points. Hey, if you're near Loki, and she should be 95 points. And I think we'd actually be singing her praises if she was at 95 points. And I feel like because, like, that was one thing they had mentioned before, is that they were initially thinking of, instead of costing that into the character, they were going to, make that, hey, you could pay for this trait should you have this requirement. And I feel like that memo got missed on the designer here. Yeah, I feel like this, like we said, like I was saying, if this was a 95-point character, we might be singing her praises more. Also, though, at the same time, to kind of go where the direction Mike was going, with an extra specs on Clea, I feel like if you find yourself on those pulse wave clicks, that's when when you're on the running shot, gave it away. You're shifting over to giving her pulse wave instead. In that case, that's the direction I would see, but definitely not a goblin glider. I think might have been what you might have been thinking, but then
I mentioned both.
Yeah,
but yeah, definitely a goblin glider. It's not worth it because it's 8 points to get. I mean, sure, she ends up with hypersonic when she ends up on the running shot clicks, but she's not really a hypersonic character. She's a running shot character.
Yeah.
If she was 75 points, I'd be all over her.
That's pretty much what I was thinking.
Wrong, but yeah. She's. It's like you said. She's not overcosted in terms of what her dial is, but she's overcosted really for what you can utilize her for on your team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, your mention, Jason, of the optional trait thing. It reminded me of like the only other couple trait character I can think of, which is the Dr. Harley and Quinzel from Harley. That's also not an optional trait. So yeah, if game design is listening, that'll be a cool.
Feel free to do that again. All right. Next up, the Rose. This is Wilson Fisk's kid. He's got the Hydra, Magia, and Spy keywords. New York crime boss trait, which gives him leadership and mastermind. When he uses leadership and succeeds, instead of removing an action token, you may generate 2 hired flunky bystanders. I love this trait and how many characters have it. And of course, with the new max 4 rules, there's a maximum of 4 bystanders from this guy, but it's his 4. So if I have 2 of these guys with that trait, I could have like 8 of them out at a single time, and because that comes with mastermind, that's beautiful. Who's the Rose is the second trait. Shape change. When the Rose uses it and succeeds, give him a mystery token. Next part of that is free. Remove a mystery token. This turn, friendly characters named hired flunky have free move. It's 40-point dial with 4 clicks that have probability control on the first 2 clicks, with stealth as well as some sidestep, precision strike towards the late end. Joining it with some willpower. This one's got the new underworld symbol, the brass knucks, as it were. So, Jay, what do you think of the Rose?
Not immediately playable, but his defenses are just good enough, and he's just cheap enough, and having the prob means that he's like a 3rd string consideration if you just want to pop out mastermind fodder, like on a Witch Queen team, if you're already going non-theme, like Devin's variant or whatever. So yeah, this is not the first thing I think of for that role, because Groot exists, but you never know when maybe some of these keywords are playable, and there's good mastermind. I don't know. That's pretty much it, though. Sealed, you're not happy. I guess you're not sad about it, because it is prob and sealed, but you're not over ecstatic about it either.
All right, Mike?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's nice. He's low points, 40 points, to have a leadership character and being able to possibly pop out those bystanders. What's tough is the secondary trait, Who's the Rose. It sounds fantastic, right? I mean, remove a mystery token and hired flunkies get free, especially if you're playing them on a team with other characters who are also generating hired flunkies. You can end up with a lot of hired flunkies on your team, and they all get a free move. It's not just his. The drawback is it's like this is a character that you're keeping back, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be aggressive putting out, so you don't really want him to be rolling shape change rolls. You don't want him to be getting attacked, really. Mm-hmm. So the drawback is like, how do I ever get mystery tokens on this figure that if he's already getting attacked, I'm most likely doing something wrong in a way. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense. You know what I mean? He's not a character you want to put out there and sacrifice. Obviously, you would love him to roll shape change so you can start to get those mystery tokens and maybe take advantage of that free move. But I think that secondary trait it's a bit carrot on a stick. You know, it dangles there looking like it could be really good, but the chances of getting those mystery tokens and pulling it off, I think, is a little bit difficult. So sealed, meh. It's really all going to depend upon what you pull on your other 9 characters. Maybe somehow you pull a bunch of Hydra and Magia guys in the set, and now you can take advantage of it with this leadership character. Prob doesn't hurt in sealed if you aren't able to make a theme team in your sealed pull. So maybe you want to look at this guy just for the extra action and to have prob, since you won't be able to get theme prob. Competitive, yeah, I think we'd have to see a lot more stuff come out. Maybe if there's more Hydra stuff that's useful. But he's an interesting little character, and I do like that trait. If you can get lucky and pull it off, it'd be fun to have a whole bunch of bystanders moving for free.
Mm-hmm. There's one element I do see on this guy that I'm not sure we've talked about just yet. This isn't incredibly difficult to kill 40 points if you actually look at the whole package. He does have stealth, which is one level that they've got to get by. Now, if they can get by the stealth, cool. If they're using close combat and not using Clea, then he's got combat reflexes to go on top of that. Of course, this is assuming they get past the shape change and the probability control. And if you get past all of that, I'm hoping you've brought this guy out into a place where he can be attacked after having brought out at least 1 or 2 hired flunkies who carried him to where he is, and now you're masterminding onto those free hired flunkies. That's kind of where how I see where this guy goes. So I feel like it's a 40-point probber that's way more work than he deserves to be when you actually put the entire package together and put all these things in consideration. I mean, now that said, when I use the example of Clea, of course, she's a 100-point character. She should nuke this guy out of the water for the most part, but she's still only able to outwit like one of his powers, so she's still got other levels to have to try to get around on this guy. And I think that's one of the things that really stands out for me is I think he's definitely my sealed prob, because I'll hold back a couple turns until I at least get one of those leaderships with a hired flunky, and then the hired flunky is doing my movements for this guy. And then, if they want to put in the effort to try to kill this guy, come at me. That's what I see in them myself. But
yeah, I was gonna respond to Mike, like not quite tie up, but like still annoying to hit because like he doesn't hold them down with like a plasticity, but still quite annoying to kill.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, competitive sits on a different level that I don't think that I'd have to see like how the whole Hydra package would affect him, because I misread those Hydra traits and they do something different for all of them. So if you have like one of each of them and then throw in the rows, maybe that does something pretty fabulous. Who knows? All right, next up, Lady Octopus. Now she comes with equipment, and we don't have the equipment on hand, so we'll have to see what that looks like. But she's Sinister Syndicate and Scientist keyword, and of course she comes with the Octopus arms, which is her signature equipment, which you can add on. She's 50 points with the Sinister Syndicate team ability, charge super strength off the top with some energy shield. I love that combination myself, until you get into combat, of course. Starts with shape change, gets some outwit, gets some late dial perplex. She's 50 points. Mike, what do you think of Lady Octopus? I mean, sans Octopus arms, which we also have to consider into her cost at some point.
Yeah, I mean, she's not a bad-looking figure at 50 points. To have charge, 11 attack, super strength with already a base 3 damage is pretty solid. The 17 defense with ESD, yeah, it's great if you're sort of moving up the map and keeping her distance, waiting to get into that position to do that charge, though it does make her... It's tough because she's clearly a close combat attacker, and then she's super soft defensively and close. Shape change up front is nice, but once they get through that shape change roll, a 17 isn't that hard to hit, and 5 clicks of damage and she's history. So not a bad figure. Obviously, like we've said, we really need to see the octopus arms. I think that they're definitely going to probably increase her value based upon a 50-point starting line. Sinister Syndicate is nice because we know of that existing trait, so it's always good to have those filler points. So I think she's a figure to consider. Sealed, it's really going to depend what else you pull. I mean, I like an 11 attack. 11 attack is a solid base attack, so not a bad figure.
All right. Jay?
Based on the equipment we've seen already, which is good at worst to amazing at best, I do feel like the equipment should put her in at least the okay category, because scientist is kind of a keyword that just never really goes away. Just kind of ebbs and flows a little bit more. So Syndicate, we're always going to get more of that stuff. So yeah, but it's impossible to say without the equipment. But I feel like at the very worst, fringy theoretically with the keywords.
Mm-hmm. I feel like this might end up being a sealed bomb because I have a distinct feeling, based on trends, we'll call it, that the octopus arms will come with some level of giant reach and flurry. I don't know. I mean, in the past we've seen it do multiple perplexes, but in other situations we've seen Dr. Octopus's get giant reach and multiple attacks. So
if it's giant reach and flurry, then definitely this character is a good character.
It's another level of oh my god, because the energy shield actually has some staying power to it because she's not basing to make close combat attacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the super strength on dial makes me think that it's not going to be flurry, because if you're telling me that the character has the options of flurry and super strength for 50 points, that seems like a little much. Unless the equipment is just that good, but that's all speculation.
Well, sometimes you get that situation where 5 damage makes more sense than 2 attacks that are doing 1 each.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that having that many amazing options seems a bit much for the points. I don't know.
But it's this much for a points at super rare.
Yeah.
Alright. Next up. Triton. I know Mike's been excited about this character for sure. Triton is an Earth X inhuman and animal keyword, ignores characters for movement, has a Pterogenesis twice trait, which reads, if you haven't heard this one yet, when a friendly character targets Triton with Perplex, after resolutions roll d6. If the result is less than Triton's click number, modify the chosen value an additional +1. He's also got another trait, Constricting Coils. When Triton hits an opposing character after resolutions, roll d6. Give a hit character an action token, and if that character occupies water terrain, deal them 1 penetrating damage. He's got special movement power. On his first 3 clicks at 100 or his first click at 75, dart like an eel, charge, hypersonic, but only if Triton occupies water terrain. He does have the aquatic symbol, so he does enjoy the dolphin symbol rather, so he ignores water terrain for movement purposes and gets +1 in the water for defense. He's got blades on all but his first click on the 100-point dial. It's invulnerable, then toughness, then regeneration on him. He's got intermittent perplex, which could really help him with that Pterogenesis twice trait. Late dial flurry as well. Jay, thoughts on Triton?
I'm going to let Mike go first because he is excited for this figure.
He likes the snake people.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I really love this figure. I love the sculpt on it. I think it's beautiful. I just think there's a lot of great stuff that goes on here. It is a little tough that I love the 100-point dial, but it's a little pricey. He plays better at 75. The other reason why he plays better at 75 is that means he's starting on click 3, which means you've got a 33% chance of activating his Pterogenesis trait when he perplexes himself. Mm-hmm. So that's super beneficial. And that's actually something to consider because you can compensate for the value drop in the 25 points with that, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, you losing a 1 on your attack and 1 on your damage and 1 on your defense by being at that lower starting line, but you could perplex 2 times on that value potentially with the Pterogenesis trait. So I do kind of like him. I do for that reason. I think for sure you want to look at playing him in sealed, especially at 100 points. If you manage to win map and you get some water out there, that's great. Constricting Coils is fantastic.
Really good trait.
Like, I'm sorry, it's just you got to get a hit in there. Mm-hmm. So it's going to work with hypersonic too. So he's just running and gunning. What I also love about him is the animal keyword. So now I know that I can build a team, and I can build an animal team that's almost going to guarantee me map roll with the existence of tribbles out there. So I kind of like him for that as well. I just think he's a really well put together figure, that both starting lines are viable. Getting him in a theme team, hypersonicking where don't have to roll to break away. And he's got regen at the end there, too. So I think he's a really solid figure.
All right. Jay, anything you want to
add? Yeah, he's probably fine for sealed. The option of having the charge to go with the super strength and then the hypersonic in general is good. You should be able to hopefully make a more swarmy team in a more constructed format, but I don't see myself building with him for constructed competitive.
If I was to add to Mike's beautiful hypothesis with the 75-pointer as well, throw in a Karnak as well to double up that possibility, because Karnak starts with Perplex, and he's a beaut. So,
and you can pair them with a Lockjaw too, who also has Inhumans. Lockjaw can pick Perplex, and that also activates the power.
Oh. And that puppy only tear Genesis once. All right, next up we have the super rare Iron Man. This is figure number 56. Gonna have to zoom in a little because this is a big dial or a big card. All right, so he's got the Avengers, Earth X, Stark Industries, Army, Robot, and Scientist keywords. He's got his first trait, the Iron Avengers. The bystanders printed on this card are Iron Avengers. So this is whenever they reference an Iron Avenger, it means any of the bystanders on his card. At the beginning of the game, generate 2 different Iron Avengers. Whenever an Iron Avenger is KO'd after resolutions, roll d6. On a 1-2, deal Iron Man 1 unavoidable damage. He's got a special attack power. I have a mission for you. Power, generate an Iron Avenger that isn't already on the map. He's got special defense power on his 3rd click. Leave it to the billionaire to buy the world some time. Stop, invincible. This game, Iron Man can't be healed above this click. And then he's got a special damage power on everything except his first 2 clicks. Iron Manor, Colossal. And when Iron Man hits the highest point opposing character on the map, after resolutions, generate an Iron Avenger that isn't already on the map. Protected Outwit on that power. And then he's got these 3 beautiful little tokens. There's the Monolith, which is giant size, Indomitable, has Quake, Sidestep, Close Combat Expert, and Toughness. We have Steel Bow, which is kind of like a Hawkeye looking like. He's got 7 range with 3 targets, flies with 6 movement with Sidestep, 10 attack with Energy Explosion, 17 defense Indomitable with Toughness, and he's got ranged combat expert. And then we have Sting, which is tiny size because it's a wasp, 4 range, flight, running shot with 7 movement, 10 attack with Psychic Blast, 17 defense with Toughness. Jay, thoughts on this character?
It's worth noting that we don't know exactly what it does, but he has some sort of synergy with the Stark Tower map.
Ooh.
It specifically name drops him of something that he generates bystanders to the map instead of himself or whatever.
Oh, I'm so happy about that.
I feel like with the shift in the competitive environment and with certain things coming out, I feel like Green Arrow should be theoretically less of a presence, so his stop click could actually matter, especially because this guy will not ever be retaliated against by Surtur because he is not making attacks unless you're going for a crit hit to just randomly no. I mean, the bystanders are all good. Some of them better than others, but there's a lot of good there. Reasonable dial length considering stop click invincible, and then you get to hit him a couple good times after that. The values are good when he's an attacker, and I kind of like that he deals some self-damage with the Pogs because then you can trigger it yourself by intentionally pushing one to death. What he does on the first 2 clicks, I guess it's okay when you consider that he has the Pogs and then he can just kind of call in stuff. So that's pretty good. I don't want to say like, oh my god, amazing S tier, but I think there could definitely be potential with this one for constructed. Sealed. These are all pretty good attackers for sealed. You have penetrating damage. You have a lot of good options. I also feel like, I mean, it's a super rare, right? So you're probably playing in sealed as well. Barrier is good. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a solid thumbs up for both.
All right, Mike.
Yeah, it's not quite my style, but I can totally see where people will enjoy this figure. I think, again, anytime you're generating relatively solid attacking characters that cost no points, when they die, I've seen how beneficial bystanders can be. As Jay mentioned, we've got a map coming which relates to this figure. It's pretty tough to. Like he said, you're not colossal retaliating on this guy. I mean, he can't make an attack. He has a 0 attack, so he can't even make an attack until he hits that click.
You can, but
I thought it was 0 attack. So they have changed that now.
Yeah, that's why Starro was a thing. That's why you could get a lot of super friends.
Got it. I'm still dealing with the unseen thing and how unseen couldn't make attacks. So, oh my god, I can never keep up with this game. But yeah, he's a pretty solid figure, and like Jay said, he's filling the super rare slot. So if you pull him in sealed, there's a very good chance you're going to want to look at playing this figure because he is in your super rare slot. He pops out relatively solid attacking figures. I mean, the 7 range is nothing to sneeze at, both on himself and on that steel bow that he pulls out, triple target energy explosion. Again, nothing to balk at on that. Yeah, it's a pretty solid, interesting figure. I don't see me necessarily playing it because it's not quite my style, but there's a lot of potential there.
This is totally a me figure. Without a shadow of a doubt. This is totally. I mean, the only thing that's missing is the fact that they're not autonomous. So if these were autonomous bystanders, they'd be astronomically better. But they're still good. Don't get me wrong. These are all still really good bystander tokens. Almost like full first click characters in this case, and they're all at 0 points. Their only real downside is that they might hurt Iron Man. And we've got 2 scientists in this game that start the game in total with like 5 bystander tokens, because this Iron Man and Stegron are both scientists. I think Stegron's a scientist because it was one of the S keywords that he had. And he starts with 3 dinosaurs, and then you add these 2. There's 5 bystander tokens, and this guy has barrier. So you just sit in the back, and once you've made that 3rd token on turn 2 or turn 1, because the last one that you don't have is the one you have to make. Then you have all 3 of these bystanders kind of making their way forward. Then he barriers for safety, because all he really does is barrier, force blast, get away from me sort of situation, and creates these dudes when they die. So that's kind of how I see this Iron Man sitting back. And then when things get dicey, okay, it's time for me to go full house mode and colossal, and then start attacking things myself. But by then, hopefully, these guys have done so much damage that, that's the contingency. The contingency is still a 100-plus point character sitting in the back of his dial there. I think this guy is really good, and he's going to surprise a lot of people, I feel.
Yeah, I also like the fact that the 7 range isn't tied to the later part of the dial, so he can just also generate super friends, or at least contribute to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because he'll still bring them out so long as he's attacking later on. So I'm probably going to come up with some kind of idea with him. And I totally forgot about him when I was building teams today. So, all right, next up. Venom Black Panther. So this is Avengers Wakanda Monster Ruler. Ignores elevated and hindering for movement. He's got the alien symbiote trait, plasticity, shape change, automatically breaks away. Calling help from the Venomverse. For those of you unfamiliar, when this character hits with an attack, you roll a d6, but there's only one guy with the Venomverse trait can do it each turn. And on a 3 to 6, place another friendly character whose name includes Venom, adjacent to Venom Black Panther. He's traded with stealth. He's got special attack power on all but his first and last click. I will use this weapon any way I can to defend my home. Blades, claws, fangs, poisons, quake, and steel energy. And then other than that, it's what you see is what you get. Powers at 75 points. Mike, what do you think of Venom Black Panther?
I love him. I don't love the 17 defense. I'm not a super fan of that, But I love this figure. I mean, he's got 2d6 rolls defensively right out of the gate, one of which is traded. The traded stealth means, you're going to need a way to get through stealth to be able to outwit those powers, because you gotta keep him in hindering. You don't play this Black Panther without getting him into hindering every chance that you get. I think he's got solid values. He's got a way to heal himself from last click to first click, because he can regen off the last click into the steel energy power on every other dial but the first one, and can get himself back up there. It's blades, it's poison, quake, and steel energy all together. Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic, the options that you have there. And especially on that second click, he's got an 11 attack. He's got stealth, sidestep, 11 attack with all those powers, combat reflexes with the 17 defense, and traded shape change for 75 points. I think this figure is fantastic. I think you can play both an attacking role and a support role with that outwit to start. Get him up the map easy with the ignores, hindering, and elevated into a position. I think he's a great figure. Right now, he's tied for my favorite chase with Venom Spider-Man.
All right. Jay, what are your thoughts?
I don't think I can add anything. That was pretty lengthy. But yeah, definitely looking forward to playing this guy casually, especially because there's apparent synergy with the Wakanda map bonus, because he has both super senses and blades. I also like the options of either if they do stealth bust, just stay on click 1, or if they don't, go to click 2, because reflex and stealth is really good. Hard to kill. I like that he can regen from click 0 to, or click last click to back to 1. Just really fun looking figure.
Yeah, this is one of those characters that will catch you off guard, because you're looking at it at face value. It's like, well, he's not that much of a threat. But then you put the whole package together, kind of like the Rose, and it's like, oh, hold on a second, I got to do what now? And then you start to see that it all tumbles down when you start to realize, oh my gosh, there's a ton of stuff happening right now with this guy. So overall, pretty interesting. A lot of really cool stuff in this set so far. I'm still getting more and more hyped. A couple of these figures I hadn't seen initially. The Iron Man I'm super pumped for, of course, because I like Pog makers. I'm probably a little bit more plussed on the Rose than a lot of people, but I'm kind of seeing some added value in these guys that bring the hired flunkies, because that hired flunkies trait comes with leadership and mastermind. So I'm kind of hot for that, as it were. I got the vapors. So, with that said, we have WKOs around the corner, and this is one of those situations where we're still in the early planning stages, so we kind of want to share where our thought process has been going as we plan for our teams. As Jay mentioned, he's going to be able to make at least one. I'm very likely, maybe I'm like at the 90% tile right now on being able to go to the one at Jackson Queen. And we'll see where that goes. Jay, where's your mic?
So funny.
Because wherever you scratched was just like you rubbing your mic against a Briller pad is what it sounded like.
Really? Because I have the regular, or I have the same mic as you do.
It was so loud.
Really sensitive then.
I don't know where that came from.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
But okay.
That was weird. But yeah, that being said, I kind of want to take a second to share where our thought process has gone. So, as I'd mentioned earlier, I sent a team to Jay and a couple other guys in our WhatsApp chat that I'm immediately ashamed of, and I'm probably not going to play. But it was like that first idea, and that's one of those things. Like, first idea was an EarthX team because Mike and Tom tried to shame me, and I still don't think the team that I made was particularly good. But I think there's other versions that are probably going to be a little better. I'm trying. My first goal is to make something with the Daredevil. Because I pulled them, got to use them, right? My second plan is possibly to try something with the Captain Marvel, and that's going to be like the Captain Marvel with the Goblin Glider. Like, that's the only direction I think I could see myself going with that. And, of course, the third option is to make modifications to the 100-point Carnage monster team as we kind of slowly make our way towards, but aren't quite at rotation yet. I think the only thing I lose on that team from rotation, I'm not sure where Undead sits on rotation, but I think that might go. But I know Goblin King is probably gone. Well, he's a bubble figure too. So I may bring that one back out. Might drop a Dr. Frankenstein for some ID cards. We'll see where I sit on that. It's kind of where my headspace is at right now. Do I go with Don't Die Tech with Daredevil, or do I try to do something wacky with the Earth X stuff? That's the direction my brain is kind of going right now. Mike, where's your brain been taking you?
Well, I mean, what I've been practicing with, clearly, because we haven't had Earth X actually drop yet, is everything up to including that. Witch Queen was the figure that jumped out at me the most from the last set, so that's sort of what I've been practicing with, a mystical theme team with her, and with the Tri-Sentinel. I really love the Tri-Sentinel. I don't love its 10 attack to start. I don't love it. But he's such a fun figure to play with. I've had a couple games where I've managed to win map and end up on the underground map. So I just have the Tri-Sentinel run through and destroy a lot of blocking and start dealing penetrating to people. It's a lot of fun. But in terms of this set coming up, I think Tom and I are more excited maybe than you are in terms of the keyword building and the potential for Earth X there. I see the potential because it makes me look back at that con exclusive Earth X cap. I think his value has immediately gone up, especially because his leadership power is removing tokens from up to 150 points of characters, and you don't have to be adjacent to them. So I think that's super useful, especially with a figure like Daredevil, because you're going to want to play Daredevil aggressively, right? You got to get him out there. You're not sitting back with Daredevil. So the nice benefit to that is Cap can be taking tokens off of Daredevil at a distance. And at 60 points, you can get another 90-point attacking Earth X character on your team and potentially be taking tokens off of both of them each turn if you roll your leadership well. So I like that. I think really the figure that I've been building with the most from Earth X, though, is that Daredevil. I think there's so much potential to that Daredevil there. His keywords are nice. It's kind of tough right now because there is so much I want to build with and play around with. I think there's so much potential. I made a Daredevil team that's with a double Sheriff Strange team. I thought that was kind of fun because Daredevil has Mystical, play one Sheriff Strange at 100 points, another at 50 points. I give one of them Exo Specs, the other one the Goblin Glider. It's kind of interesting. So right now, it's tough to say because every time I build something and start playing with it and enjoy it, I see a new preview and I think, man, what could I do with that figure? So right now, it's very much in that just building teams and then waiting for something to like feel right to play. I think a lot of us like to play sort of what's our style. I know you, Mr. Collins, for sure. You want to dance to the beat of your own xylophone, as it were. You don't necessarily want to follow the mainstream meta. You want to play what you love and what screams to you, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is just having fun with all this new potential, building and fiddling around with it. And just trying to get the playtime in and go with what feels right for me, if that makes sense.
It does. Jay, what you been working on?
It's weird because I don't have much incentive to care about the event itself because I already had the qualification and already had the prizing from judging another one, presumably, so I'm not that worried about actually doing well. But I have had some ideas. I think the only figure that I know of that I absolutely 100% know I will want to play, no matter what, is the Daredevil, because Don't Die Tech is a thing I've been doing for a while. There's a lot of good stuff, because, obviously if you're going just pure Don't Die Tech, you might theoretically just not care about the theme. But also, I was looking at the Shredder Rare from Set 2 recently, who I was actually writing a Fringe article on, and he has Mystical randomly, and is one of the most annoying things to kill ever. And I just think there's a lot of potential with that figure, so that's already Mystical. And then if we're talking pre-retirement, I can throw on the Green Lantern that I like and a Tri-Sentinel. And basically, I just ended up building a team while Mike was talking. But if we're talking that team, Shredder plus the optional trait, plus Daredevil, Green Lantern, Tri-Sentinel is only 225, and it's not like amazing, but I think there's potential. And also, just theoretically, Daredevil just fills in the holes that I lose with Joker and Ironheart, so he just kind of shifts stuff around while also being able to do some uniquely annoying stuff that other stuff couldn't do. But then also makes you question if I want to throw Trelane on, because Trelane's generally good and can sit in the back, be hard to kill, and then just do the dice thing, which is just always good, but also protects Daredevil, so it's all about Daredevil, essentially.
Daredevil is definitely a figure that comes up a lot in the conversation, for sure. And as Mike was saying, Tri-Sentinel, since Daredevil is mystical, they both fit in the same team. I'm not going to lie, I did look at the idea of a Sheriff Strange along with those two, with some kind of iteration of a mystical team, but I'm afraid of the squish level on that. Like, I've played some squishy teams in the past, but they've also done a ton more damage than like the face value of that does, for sure. So I'm not straight to that just yet. But do we see any iteration or of their own, any of its own new archetypes that we might not have seen yet, or is it still kind of early to tell on Earth X? That's open to the floor if anybody's...
I think it's kind of early to tell.
Yeah.
I think the potential's there. I think people are, as always, looking at the set, and there's a couple of things in the set that you definitely have to be conscious of and aware of. But I think it's very early, right? It's just right on that precipice, fresh stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right. Cool. So, of course, more fun question, because pre-releases are this week. And so, what's on your wish list for the pre-releases this week? Is of course that question everybody wants to know. It's like, what do you really want to pull? That we've seen already, or something that's maybe not something we've seen already. So, Jay, anything you'd be like, yeah, this made my day. That isn't the Ultra Chase.
If I pulled Venomous Spider-Man, that would be a big weight of a definitely expensive figure off of me, which is also good because I don't think it's quite competitive yet, so I don't want to shell out that kind of money for a figure that's not necessarily competitive. Just the Daredevil will be good, Super Rare Prime will be good. And as far as regular Super Rares go, I would definitely not mind getting that Hulk, just to either somehow lose or just wreck at a pre-release. That'd be pretty... It just looks like a fun figure with enough... I like that with the Hulks, they've added some sort of twist where it's just not... It's just 1 degree off of you point Hulk at other stuff and he destroys it, sort of thing. So, because with this Hulk, you have to balance out the idea of how many soul tokens to take in case Bruce dies, how much damage, sort of thing. So, just interesting enough.
All right, Mike.
I would say, definitely, like everybody else, I'm just excited to get new figures, and there's a lot of great stuff in the set, and I'd be excited to see any super rares or chases. But I would say probably off the top of my head, the basic excitement would be if I pulled a super green Goblin, because I like the figure, as well as who doesn't want that Goblin glider and want to start trying out that Goblin glider. I could think of lots of people who would like that Goblin glider. Starshine Prime would love that Goblin glider. Venom Spider-Man, yeah. Well, now after seeing Venom Black Panther, either Venom Spider-Man or Venom Black Panther, I think Venom Spider-Man just ekes him out because I like Spider-Man family so much, and I will get more play out of him in terms of thematic fun play. So those would be my biggest, most excited wants right now.
I'm kind of sit at as far as higher rarity. I'm definitely would be hyped to get a Medusa, just to see if I can make Gorgon work in an Inhumans team, because I feel like she would be the key to making him work. Like either using the free action TK to get into that position to make Gorgon go in a straight line and do a ton of quake damage, or on the off chance of using the power action and still maintaining an Inhumans keyword theme team so that I can get prob out of that as well. I think both kind of put me in the level of I'd be interested in getting Medusa. And I'm not going to lie, I hadn't seen Medusa prior to this discussion today. I've actually just looked at her now. So
now you're understanding why I say EarthX has potential too.
I think Inhuman EarthX has potential.
Yeah.
But that's closer to Inhumans, then I'd probably lean towards adding Lockjaw to the team somewhere, keeping
Plus
it Inhumans.
Plus she's got Ruler.
Yep. So she fits on that ruler team that does exist out there. But sitting in the lower rarities, once I saw it's out there in the world, but Alistair's my Spider Slayers are out there, the mini Slayers, and they're great. I love them. The ability to pop them on somebody and say, "This is the equipment you're stuck with now," is pretty fantastic.
I haven't got to see it.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's a light object, and you have to make an attack to hit with it, right, Jay? Or do you just...
It just jumps off of another attack. So you hit them, it equips onto them, unequips whatever they already had. They get -2 speed as well. So you off their equipment, and if it happens to be unequipped KO, you score it, which is cool. And then I think it gives you, when it's equipped on your actual character, it's senses on a 6, I think. It's only 4 points.
Is it in the thread?
It is.
Dial thread? Okay, I'm just in there now.
Yeah. Anyway, so Alistair Smythe, for the sole purpose of the Spider Slayers, kind of gets me up there. So that's where I stand for sure on that one. So pre-releases this week. Check out your local stores, find out who's running pre-releases, and get out to them, because getting an early taste of the set, an early feel for the set, goes a long way. Gets you early access to some of the figures you may or may not have seen before, or you just want to get your hands on. And they're just so much fun. Pre-releases are so much fun. I can't stress that enough. So check them out locally, and we're going to move into the questions unless you guys had anything else we wanted to cover. No? Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to jump onto Facebook first. We had a big one. I just want to make sure I get the wording on it correct. And I don't know, did you see it, Mike?
No.
Okay, so then we're probably going to have to go high level on this one. For some of us. Jay, did you get a chance to actually give it a good work, or?
I put way too much thought into it.
All right, excellent. So here's what we'll do for this question is, it's a team build. Though normally I don't engage with these, but there wasn't a whole great deal of questions today, so we'll engage in the activity today. But we don't generally make a habit of building 300-point teams out of nowhere on questions, because that's a lot of work, and I put up the questions real late today.
I got the unit section open. I'm ready.
Yeah. So, this is from LeChad. If you had to build a 300-point modern team and you were required to build it around the wildcard team ability, what would you build? At the same time, if you're able to squeeze a theme team into this, do it. And then he gave us a time limit that I chuckled at, because we weren't even done previews at that time. So, and questions are always at the end of the show, guys. So Jay, you said you got a baseline, so let's start with yours.
If we're talking wild cards, you can't go wrong with Spider-Man family, especially with the one set still there and the other set on the way out. That new Super Rare Prime is pretty damn good. Ezekiel Sims is interesting. What else was there? Spiderling from the last set was good. Spider-Mobile's good. So there's a good amount to work with. And I ended up just going through the wild cards to see what I would want to build with as far as teams go. So I had obviously just Spider-Man stuff in general. Civil War Taskmaster still good. Civil War Punisher has some really good tech built around him. Like the somebody I saw played him, and then he equipped the Gatling gun, and then he got running shot off of that inspiration off of the ID cards. He was running shot Gatling gunning all over the place or whatever. Or was it the rocket launcher? Yeah, he got the rocket launcher, and then there was a green arrow that got the Gatling gun. So that was pretty hilarious. But he's a wild card, so you can do wild card things. The stabby Deadpool shifting focus is a wild card, as are the bathrobes. Like I said, Ezekiel, the new Silver Sable, the Spider-Man from this set, the common with the cool carry but not carry power, is just independently good of Spider-Man family. And there's also just tactics that are really good now for wild cards because of how the whole wild card, keep what you wild card until you switch, so you can copy team abilities off ID cards. And I put together, as far as I know, the full list of stuff you can get off of ID cards in Modern right now. From DC, you have access to Batman, Enemy, and Underworld from various Batman villains. And then you surprisingly have the Green Lantern team ability from the Green Lantern Harley Quinn, which is surprisingly good now that it just gives you Passengers 8, because the old wording was you got to carry a certain number of characters when you were carrying, but now it just inherently gives you the Passengers 8, so that's pretty cool. You have Brotherhood of Mutants off of like the WizKids Open Rogue and the Magneto Prime. You have Defenders from the that one Angel, as well as X-Men from all of the Collins ever. And then, just in general, if you want to keep theme, just always throw Suited Henchman on there, and then you can do cool things. And it also surprisingly synergizes well with the new hired boss characters, because they say they get keywords off of your Underworld team ability characters. So if you happen to want to get the Gotham City Underworld keyword on those pogs as well, that could randomly be good. I don't know. It depends on if you want theme or not. But if you are trying to maintain theme, just randomly getting Suited Henchmen on there is a tactic that I use all the time on Spider-Man teams, because they don't have a lot of built-in team abilities from their own keyword characters. But yeah, that was basically it. I didn't quite go for a team. I just kind of went with what is all the stuff that is good, and also I want to actually theoretically play with competitively.
Cool, awesome. One of the things about wildcard that's been made very difficult, and I don't know if they changed it recently, so I might be wrong, but how do I put this? Did they change back the fact that you could only wildcard, like choose a wildcard team once per turn? Or is it still like free action, choose power? Or choose team ability?
It's right now it's a normal, it's not an exception to the free action rule anymore.
Okay, so that is
good.
It's good, but it makes these teams a little bit more difficult to play than they were in the first place, right? So
the whole keeping it even if the character is lost thing was basically it was an overall net whatever trade-off, I think.
Yeah, it's just, but you have to commit to what you're going to pick, and then you can't go back like I would frequently do back in the day. It was like, all right, I'm going to choose PD. All right, now that I'm done with the attack, I'm going to go back to defenders or something like that. You know what I mean? So that makes things a little bit more difficult. But as like Jay covered a lot of the bases, laying out the wild cards that we have right now, laying out the team builds you can get. So it's a matter of how you want to go, what direction you want to go with that. Obviously, you want to, if you want to be using the Batman enemy team ability, you've got to make sure your wild cards, either you have the high attack wild cards or you have a high attacker with which to take off of from that team ability. So ultimately, you're focusing one at a time. So I don't know, Mike. Anything you want to kind of add on the high level on this one?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's really the key. Is that wildcard doesn't quite have the runaway fun that it used to have. I used to exploit the hell out of wildcards. The fact that you're really only getting to pick one in the turn. I mean, the benefit again is once you've picked that wildcard team ability, you've got it. So even if you lose the person that you've gained that wildcard team ability from, you've got it for the game. So really, you're sort of, I think you need to play it differently than it used to be played. Like, wildcards used to be played that way, where you're kind of cycling through the different team abilities. I think more wildcards now, you sort of look at a figure with the wildcard team ability and go, what TA do I really want this person to have that they don't already have? Because you're not going to be cycling them as much. You're kind of trying to put one on. So on that train of thought, I would say if you're thinking about building with wildcards before retirement comes in, I think you should look at Moon Knight, super rare from the Avengers Defenders War. Specifically, when I say look at Moon Knight, I want you to look at detective keyword. Because Moon Knight comes in at 110 points. He's a wild card with running shot and charge, as well as he ignores hindering and elevated for line of fire. Now, what's really nice is Ace the Bat Hound is a 50-point character who has detective. He's got Batman Ally, which you can wildcard to Moon Knight. So now Moon Knight has stealth, as well as is ignoring the hindering that he's running in and out of. He can carry Ace the Bat Hound with him because Ace is tiny. And then Ace gives improved targeting, ignores hindering to characters he's adjacent to. Just the two of them alone, it's 160 points. He's running around carrying the dog, ignoring hindering. He's already got a perplex for his modifiers, and Ace can be choosing things like empower or enhancement to help him out, outwit to help him out. There's a lot of stuff there. On top of that, Sand has detective with the JSA team ability. He's a low point figure. You can easily fit him on the team. If you somehow lost Ace at some point, you could be using JSA wildcarded, pull the 18 defense off of Sand, and then you'd also get super senses from it. Moon Knight would love that. And as well, Deadpool. Shifting focus Deadpool. One of them has detective.
Yep.
So you can get him on that team too. He's only 75 points. Because right now Moon Knight, Ace the Bat Hound, and Sand come up to 195 points. So you could still fit a shifting focus Deadpool on that team, and you'd still have room for ID cards or some objects if you'd like. And the last one I'll throw in there along the detective line that could work synergistically with the Moon Knight and wildcarding, Ultimate Thor. Ultimate Thor has outwit, he ignores hindering, he has detective keyword, as well as the PD team ability. So his PD team ability could help out Moon Knight and vice versa. Moon Knight could wildguard PD and help out Ultimate Thor when he's making ranged attacks. So just some ideas I would say if you're looking at wildcard. I do think it's still a viable TA, but again, without that whole ability to keep cycling through them, I think you have to look at building with it differently. It's more like adding a TA onto a figure that you want to sort of keep on them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. In fact, when you mentioned detective, I totally forgot that there's so many detectives that are either A, a wild card, or B, have some of the best wild cardable team abilities. Like you said, with Sand and a lot of the Batmans, you get, or even Ace the Bat Hound, you get that Batman ally team ability. So when you're on the defensive, you're stealthy. You get the JSA team ability to, when you have somebody with that defense you want to share it. So it's a very good call on that one that I almost completely missed, to be really honest. There was a period of time where I was considering the idea of the Spider Knight, and I think it was a past team using the Justice Society team ability, because the Spider Knight was 19 defense with wildcard team ability. So you copy the Justice Society team ability, you make yourself a past team, and they all got 19 defense. That was one thing I was toiling around with a bit, but that's a more focused wild card where he's a part of a whole that already is kind of doing well on its own. He just makes it that extra level better, which is another approach you can take to a wild card where if I'm trying to make use of the wild card, I have the Spider Knight here to say, you know what, this is the defense that all these guys are going to have, deal with that. But unfortunately, that's not a strategy I would normally use myself because my opponents have amazing dice, and I usually don't have great dice. Though I'm sure there's some people that's like, Jason, you have great dice, and it's the few people I've managed to win games against. So that said, we will kind of approach it in different ways. I I couldn't come up with anything off the top of my head that was really a fantastic team, and I knew Jay is really good at this kind of thing, and Mike really kind of nailed it with the detective keywords. So you got your keyword team, and you got your here's all the wild card stuff that you could do answer. And I've tried similar strategies to what Mike had described, using Spider Noir instead of Moon Knight myself. So, but Moon Knight's probably the better figure overall. Mike's got a particular soft spot for that character.
I love that figure.
That character has a soft spot for you. I think you've pulled. How many seals did you pull him in that period of time?
I ended up pulling 4 Super Rare Moon Knights by the end of it. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know. It was like the Unseen, right? When I was so excited about that Moon Knight coming in the set, and then I kept pulling him. I was so excited about Unseen coming in the set, and I kept pulling him. So I'm really excited for Daredevil, yeah, and Venom Spider-Man, yeah. Maybe I could pull 3 or 4 of them. Yeah, right.
I mean, honestly, I am a caveman Iron Fist magnet myself, so I think I'm sitting on 3 right now.
Nice.
I've considered using 2. I'm not gonna lie. We talked about that actually in the past, Mike. The idea of using 2 of those on a team with Renatilli. I haven't quite let go of that idea.
No, dude, think about it.
But before we move on to the next question, I do want to remind everybody, if you want to support us at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks, any support would really go a long way. Any level of support gets you access to our patron hangout, or our patron Discord rather, where we make regular posts and talk to each other about the game. I'm pretty sure I'm going to start dumping teams on there soon enough for people to take a look at, critique, if you will. We love the idea of everybody sharing their teams. Mike just shared one during the show today. You sick man, you. Actually, I think I can build that team. That said, so if you want to check us out, once again, patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. Any level of support is much appreciated. Speaking of Patreon, the first and probably going to be also till death do us part, patron Mr. Michael Fedor, he has a question. He asks, of course you know my passion in my heart for the War of Light storyline, but do you think it's time for HeroClix to bring the Lanterns into a modern age set? In my humble opinion, the core is about the only thing consistently interesting that DC is publishing at the moment. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Green Lanterns too. I've always kind of liked but I've always liked the off-color Green Lanterns, or the off-color Lanterns. So I don't actually like the Green Lanterns. I love the Red Lanterns, and I love the Star Sapphires and the Orange Lanterns. Like, I've loved all those things.
I need a modern Dexstar.
Yeah, a modern kitty would be pretty cool. But the other thing is, we don't think we need it on the level of the War of Light. That was overkill, I think. It was too much, and like when you get a set of the Green Lanterns, you actually find out how uninteresting that kind of set can be, because it was just all power. Like it was a ruthless set. So in light batches, I wouldn't mind another Atrocitus. I wouldn't mind another Dexstar. I wouldn't mind another Larfleeze, or some alternate versions of other things with later design senses. Though I think they kind of hit the nail on the head with the last one. So I think we're kind of seeing that trend where WizKids is going to make a set based on a more recent storyline, but within like a year or two. So obviously we have Rebirth around the corner, and then whatever the next big thing that they want to base it off of on the next one. So I would say if there is another major Green Lantern or major War of Light type thing ahead, we might see that, but I don't foresee a full set focused on that level. So, but yeah, I would love to see more Lanterns for sure. I don't know, where do you sit on that one, Mike?
I pretty much agree. I don't think we're going to see anything to the level of War of Light ever again, but I think we do need to have a Lantern set, either like a sub-theme set or something. I do think we need some Lanterns back again. Definitely, like Jay, I'm a big fan of Red Lanterns. I need me a modern Dexstar with animal keyword to throw on my many animal theme teams there. Got to hook them up with my Lockjaw, They're one cat and dog together. What? No more sliced bread. Total anarchy. Name that movie. Anyway, yeah, I would love to see Lanterns again. I think it'd be great. I worry that we get some kind of crazy ultra chase Kyle Rayner now though, because isn't he like completely overpowered? Isn't he like the all
Kyle Rayner's
lantern?
always overpowered.
Became gross. Isn't he like got like every ring ever? Chartreuse ring, flat ring. Crazy, but I would be on board with some modern lanterns.
And was the line you're trying to say cats and dogs living together mass hysteria?
Yeah, no more sliced bread, mass hysteria.
Ghostbusters.
That's right.
Jay?
There's definitely room to include them in other areas. I don't think you need a full set because I think you're making a set just with lantern stuff that's a bit too specialized for mass market appeal, so you probably want to like throw them in other areas. Like if you did a Chase Black Lantern set, that would be cool because that can be any character pretty much. So you have that's appealing. You have the appeal of the Black Lanterns to the fans of that, and or you just try and throw the characters in where they fit. Like I know that there's a good handful of Lantern villain characters that are on various villain teams that we haven't seen in forever or have not gotten those keywords. Like there's no Star Sapphire with Secret Society, and there's no whatever. We haven't gotten a Sinestro with those keywords in a while, that sort of thing. So there's definitely room to fit them in other areas. I just don't know if you necessarily need to make a whole set because then it's kind of all or nothing for some people. So you don't necessarily want that, which is presumably the idea of a sub-theme in general.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and the lanterns themselves can stay at home this time. Though I do have to say, I'm starting to get to that point where I feel like it's almost time for WizKids to start considering the idea of a reprint here and there. And okay, unpopular opinion ahead here, guys. I apologize. But every so often, I can't help but turn around and go, it would be really nice to have Alyosha Craven back. Or it would be really nice to have, like, an Orange Lantern, modern Larfleeze, let's say. Like, but maybe even this, if they think they nailed the design, give it to me again. I wouldn't mind it. I just, don't go crazy with it. But occasionally they do kind of hit a certain point where it's like, hey, this character might be worth a revisit, or even a full-blown reprint, and that could I'm going way off the hypothetical chain here. That could also help us, bring back some of the older stuff from our collection if they do a full, flat-out reprint. That's a hypothetical. I'm probably going to talk with Amber on Friday, but all right. If you're in the chat live, put in capital letters question in front of your question so we can catch it in the chat. I've caught a couple that don't have it, so I'm going to try to remember where those were in the chat, but I'll address whatever I can while we're paying attention. But the first one was KJ Foster, the new map, the Iron Man map from the Fast Forces, or I think this is a full-blown starter set. What do you think? First of all, it comes with bystanders, so I'm already kind of in. I can't tell you how much time I spent trying to build with that Penguin one that Tom ended up doing a better job than I did with, because he went in a different direction. Because I was aiming for Gotham City Underworld, and he just went with Gotham City. And I was like, oh, right. So, Tom and Mike came up with that. But I don't know specifically what it does other than it needs an Iron Man and it makes things. Jay, do you know what it does?
It was really blurry. I could pull it up on Clickstop really quickly, but
I don't want to try to decipher on here. I was just wondering if you knew, like, bam, this is what it does.
There's some random element of which bystander you make, and then it interacts with that Iron Man specifically. I think one of them has prob. Like, if you can pay 5 points and get prob,
I'm in. I'm in. I'm in love. Because I can't tell you, most of my success comes from the fact that I bring prob.
I'm just trying to pull up the actual map layout. It was kind of indoorsy, bunch of hindering, shaped like Iron Man's head. I just can't remember what exactly it looked like. I wish I was more prepared. But yeah, it's probably, just getting Pogs. I mean, obviously we saw Tom do well with that team, so, paying 5 points for Pogs is good, so,
yeah. Heck, I mean, in some cases, 120 points is good for Pogs, or 100 points is good for Pogs, or 75 points, or 40, or 65. It's a lot of points I'm willing to pay for Pogs, or at least a generator of Pogs, or even non-Pogs, because one of the one that was 65 points, I was thinking of the Black Panther, and he brings out just flat out Wakandans. Maybe I'll bring the Hela team to.
Ooh.
It would be so dumb. I would lose so bad. I got a reputation to uphold there at Jackson Queen, don't I?
Yeah, it's an interesting map layout. It's there's these two elevated sections that like you can kind of go up and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Mm. So yeah, I mean, the idea that I can get a Pog with Prob is my number one reason why I'm definitely all in for that map for sure. I don't know, Mike, do you have any other insight on this map that we might be missing? Or
I have not really got to see it, but the thought of Pog with Prob, I'm all over that as well. So sure, I'm interested in it. I mean, any map that helps you generate figures and gives you an edge, why not?
Mm-hmm. All right. So this one looks like an actual question. Will Progressivo, that Daredevil will see so much play, it's not even funny. How much do you guys? How much are you guys? Oh, how much would you guys have to? What? How much you guys I'd have to shell for? Oh, how much do you think it's going to cost? I guess is generally what I. You know what? I don't know. I don't care. Okay, I'm being a jerk. But I think it's going to hit. I think. Early out, it's going to hit high, but I think it'll settle at 30 is going to be my guess.
I can't remember. Is it super rare slot?
It's a super rare, yeah.
Yeah, it's super rare slot.
Super rares can only get so expensive, so.
Tell that to Wolverine.
Yeah.
But the difference is that there was a swarm factor with him, so people wanted multiple, so the supply was actually low.
Yep.
But this guy's unique, so.
I'm gonna say $60.
You think he's going to peak out at 60?
I think he's gonna start there.
He's going to start at 60.
Canadian.
Yeah, so 45 American.
Yeah, about 45.
I was going to say 5.5. Canadian American.
350.
350. 350.
Yeah, see, in the 35 to 40 US range, seeing, yeah, pretty reasonable. And there's just also the fact that there's just pure aesthetic appeal, and yeah, people are just going to want it because it looks good, even if they don't care about playing it. So that's helping the set, I think. Outside of the Ultra, which is just another level.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm trying to decipher this question here. Silk, what if married Black Cat Spider-Man, two Spiderlings, the Spider-Mobile, Mary Jane, and Professor X ID card, the rare version for shape change, 18 defend outwit, yay or nay? Suggested addition. Oh, okay. Whoa. Jeez Louise. Okay, so one more time here. We got Silk, the what if Spider-Man of the what if he married Black Cat. I don't know which one that is.
That's the uncommon.
Okay.
They get the bonus to super senses if he's next to a Black Cat, which can apparently include an actual cat.
I love that.
I love when those little wording things occur. Two Spiderlings, the Spider-Mobile, and Mary Jane, and the Professor X ID card. Okay. I see where you're going with this. I think there's an overinvestment in Spiderlings at this stage, but I hate being put on the spot for this because you know what this creates? This creates dead air where I have to think about it.
I don't think there's enough offense going on here. Like that Spider-Man's 11-3. The Spiderlings are. Oh, you just need more offense. Like that's a whole team.
I don't understand the double Spiderling at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is.
I would rather spend.
I don't know because you want that reroll.
There's 30 Spiderlings. 30.
Yeah.
I would rather spend the 25 points on the Mary Jane before she retires to get the perplex and the +1 attack to Spider-Man who's adjacent. Plus, the Spider-Man can carry her.
Yeah, So, like you're saying,
I'm just not a fan. I just think it needs a little more damage output.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Yeah, so look for some damage. I mean, there's things like, well, okay, I don't know why I always do this because I neglect So there's, of course, the Chase, the Spider-Man. He's a really super offensive version of Spider-Man. But there is that new Spider-Man coming out, the rare one. He's not a terrible Spider-Man. He's like 90 points, Spider-Man team ability. He's got prob on his first 2 clicks, 3 damage. It does come with the web shooters, should you feel like the need to do that. He might be a consideration, in addition to what you have here. All right, next up, Ethos Black. The WizKids Forge with Energy Explosion. Does it cancel the Lockjaw token power? Forge specifically cancels defense powers, right?
Powers, period.
He just powers, period.
Power, so no.
Oh, standard power. So it's not going to touch the, because that's a trait, right? The
Yeah.
token, yeah. So unfortunately, Forge will not stop the trait from occurring in this case. I believe that's actually it. That is it. All right, cool. Nothing else came up in the Facebook. So if there's nothing else, Mike?
No.
No? All right. Nothing else, Jay?
No, thank you.
All right. So on that note, then, I want to thank everybody for watching us live. Everybody who's watching us in the archives. I want to take a second to thank our sponsors over at MajesticCCG.com. Check out the premium site at MajesticCCG.com/Apex-Insiders. $3 a month gets you brain dumps from some great minds in the game of HeroClix. Some really smart, great players contribute to the site, and it's really worth getting their insights every month for $3. And, you know, it's helped me change my thought process sometimes, though I'm also very stubborn and a hard person to change. I am not immune to sharing my own information on the site as well. My wackiness does find its way there as well. And Jay is a regular contributor as well on those more fringe level, what do I do, or, you know, why don't I use this figure sort of things, like opening your eyes to figures we don't usually use. So check that out, MajesticCCG.com, or check it out with the /Apex-Insiders, your source for all things HeroClix. As well, I want to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/MaverClicks. Check it out if you want to support us a little bit more directly. WKO's around the corner, and pre-releases around the corner. HeroClix is back in full swing, guys. It's a good time to be a HeroClix player. So check out your pre-releases, because that's a good place to get some early information. Early information is part of practice, and practice will make your teams better. Have a good night, everybody.